Have you ever been wandering the Dollar Tree and you end up in the beauty aisle and you look at the makeup items and think, I wonder if any of these are any good? That happens to me all of the time. So I decided to pick up a bunch of makeup from Dollar Tree, and I'll insert a picture here, and I'm looking for hidden gems. Dollar Tree makeup that is going to save us money. I'm also excited to share some Dollar Tree makeup related hacks, so let's get started. I'm going to start out with foundation, and this is technically a BB cream. This is in the color Light 1, and out of all of the shades that I could find, I think this is going to be the closest match. I'm really nervous about this. Let's see how this works out. I'm going to squeeze a little bit of this on my hand. I'm just going to dot this foundation over my face and then blend it in and hope for the best. So I'm going to go on the forehead, the nose, the cheeks, and the chin. I have to say this is a little bit lighter than what I was expecting, so let's blend. I'm bringing this down onto my neck because Lord knows this does not match my skin tone. Now my face is pretty red right now, but that's because I just applied this foundation with my hands. So I want to give my skin a couple of minutes to settle down so that we can actually look at the coverage. I'll be right back. The coverage of this BB cream is about what I expected. It does feel comfortable on. I usually go in with a concealer, but there were no concealers that would have been even remotely light enough for my skin. So I'm going to have to skip that step. And I kind of regret that because I do like to brighten this area up. But I digress, let's keep going. Every setting powder that I could find in the Dollar Tree is the color Tan. And I just don't have tan skin. I'm actually thinking I'll be able to use this as a bronzer. So I can't use this as a setting powder or it will completely negate the foundation that I just put on. I also want to show you the color of the other foundation that I picked up, even though I already know I won't be able to use it all over my face. But let me show you this foundation. And this is one of those pump containers, which I actually do like this type of packaging in general. This is a very small foundation, by the way, and I want to point out that even though this is $1, this is more like a concealer size. But if it works for you, then I guess it would be worth it. I'm going to stripe this on my chin and then I'll come in closer. And as I suspected, this is really yellow. There is no way that I could use this all over my face. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with the straight up BB cream. I have very dry skin, but I can already see quite a shine with this BB cream. And I also know that it is such a sheer coverage that if I don't set it, it's just going to disappear. I am going to have to pull one of my own setting powders, and then I'm just going to set this foundation, such as it is, and this will get rid of a lot of shine, and it'll also help the bronzer and the blush not skip. And this is true regardless of whatever foundation or bronzer or blush that I'm using. I want to give these Dollar Tree products a real test, so I'm going to do everything exactly how I would with, I'm going to call it regular makeup. Now the next thing I'm going to do is bronze, and I have two options because I am very pale. I have this translucent setting powder that's in the color Tan, and then I have a bronzer. So I'm going to open both of these packages, I'm going to swatch them, and then we'll decide which one we're going to use. Here's the packaging on one of the bronzer options, and I do realize that this says blush, but this definitely has a bronzy color to me. And then here is the setting powder that says that it's in the color Tan. I have the pressed powder out of the packaging, and it comes with a very flimsy foam piece. I'm not going to use this. I wouldn't know how to use this. So I'm going to use one of my own brushes, but let's go ahead and swatch this. And of course, I realize that this is not meant to be a bronzer, but because of the color, I think it might work for me. So there's the color. Not gonna lie, I think that might work. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I was going to show you a couple of Dollar Tree hacks that are related to makeup. And here's the first one. I really like to use this particular brush for bronzer. I know that most people use a big fluffy brush. I just like the way this one works. And it's dirty. I know how to wash a makeup brush, but I want to use this now. So the first tip that I'm going to show you is how to dry clean a brush. Now there are two different ways to do this. There's an expensive way and there's a super cheap way. Let me show you both. Normally when I want to reuse a brush right away without washing it and waiting for it to dry, I will use a product called Color Switch or something like that. The one that I have in my hand I got at Sephora before I figured out this other tip. So I'm going to show you the concept of this, and then I'll show you what I found at the Dollar Tree that does the exact same thing. So this is a little tin, and inside is a black meshy feeling substance. And what you do is just rub the brush over it, and it knocks off all the loose color so that when you're using a different product, you're not still getting the residue from the previous product, if that makes sense, right? This was around $15, possibly even $19. And it really is just a tin. And then you can actually take this insert out if it gets dirty and you're in a hurry, and you can switch it over and then use the other side. It's very easy to wash because water flows through it easily. I'm going to bring this component in close to show you. So this is the inside of that color switch, and you can see how it has kind of divots and nooks and crannies, and that's what gets the dry powder off of your makeup brush. So now let me show you what I found at the Dollar Tree that does the exact same thing. And I just bought this 2 days ago, so this is in Dollar Tree right now. This will sound strange, but this is what's called a hair donut. And this is the same texture as the color switch that I just showed you. The difference is this is $1 and this is $15 or $20. It works exactly the same. The same day that I picked up the hair donut, I really lucked out and found tins at Dollar Tree that are nearly the identical size as the Sephora color switch. And let me show you why I like this one even more. The Dollar Tree tins have all sorts of cute graphics on them. I especially like this one that says "You're Lamazing." And Vicky, if you're watching this made me think of you because you are the original Llama Mama. But how perfect is this to make your own dry brush cleaning kit? Let me show you. So here's our hair donut, and here's the tin. And you can see that it fits in there perfectly. It's a little bit taller than the tin, so the lid doesn't fit firmly. But honestly, for the cost of this, I think it's worth the trade-off. And just like with the color switch one from Sephora that costs a lot more, all you do is swirl your brush on it and knock off your loose eyeshadow. And here is the tin with the hair donut inside. And again, these come in a number of really cute graphics. I saw a red one as well. I'm going to start out with the pressed powder, and if this doesn't give me enough color, I'll move on to the other one. So I'm just going to use my favorite brush, tap it off. I'm going to have to make the fish face, sorry about that. Huh. The color payoff on that isn't bad at all. I always do up around my forehead, and this is another reason why my hair isn't done, is I do my hair last. And if you want to see a hair tutorial, by the way, let me know. This is just how I wake up with the way it looks right now. So I tend to go around the perimeters of my face. And again, I'm no beauty guru by any stretch of the imagination. I usually put a little on my neck too, because if I don't, then my face looks like a completely different color. Now, I have some pretty bright lights on me so that my videos aren't dark, but as I'm looking in the mirror, I can definitely see where I put this bronzer. Typically, the next thing that I would use is a highlighter along the cheekbones, and then I would go in with blush. So we're going to move on to that step next. Now, the closest thing that I could find at Dollar Tree that I could potentially use as a highlighter, and this has me a little bit nervous, is actually a shimmer eyeshadow. But in my mind, it's the right color, and maybe if I use a light hand, it'll work. Let me bring this in closer to show you the packaging. This is by the brand LA Colors, and the color is called Honeysuckle. And I think that it has just enough of a champagne color that, who knows, it could work. Let's see. So for the highlighter, I couldn't find what I would consider a highlighter brush at Dollar Tree, so I'm going to use one from my own collection. This is by Milani. I did get this at Walmart. I love this highlighter brush so much. It is dirty, so again, I'm going to use this dry brush cleaning method with the Dollar Tree piece and just get all of the old highlighter off so that we can make sure that what we see on my face is actually from Dollar Tree. I am so impressed by how this works. Now, because this eyeshadow has just a tiny little hole at the top, and I definitely want to diffuse this because I have no idea how shimmery this will be, due to the lack of a better idea, I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some out on a small dish, and then I will also swatch it. And let's just see what kind of color payoff we get. Huh. That is not hideous. It's a little bit chalky. It does have a shimmer, as you can see, and I really want something subtle. So this might just work. Let's see. And I just want to pick up a little bit and then tap off the excess. That was a lot of excess. I think I went a little bit ham with that. And I'm just going to apply this to the tops of my cheeks, and I'm looking in a mirror right here. And that's the highlighter. And it does give a subtle little shimmer. I can see it right there. And I'm going to put blush on over top of this, and then I'll blend it all down with a fluffy brush. For the blush, I am using this LA Colors Powder Blush, and this is in the color Pink Blush. That sounds pretty generic, but let's see. And I'm also using a Wet n Wild brush. I'm going to bring these both in close to show you. So here's the blush. I think this color is definitely pretty and going to work if it has enough color payoff. And it says that it has a velvety finish, so we're about to find out. And again, it has one of these little brushes in it that I just never use. So the brush that I'm going to use. Now this brush is by Wet n Wild, and this says that it's a contour brush, but I like the shape of this for blush. I actually already have a couple of these, and for the money, I think they're really good brushes, so I know ahead of time that this is a winner. Actually, this does feel velvety. I'm surprised. It feels like it's very finely milled. I'm going to bring this in close for a swatch. Oh boy, that's a little bit non-existent. It's a very pale blush. Try to build that up a little bit. That is pretty pale, but we're going to work with it. I think this really isn't going to show up at all, but we're going to try it anyway. So I'm just going to tap into it, tap off the excess. My initial impression about this blush, it's nothing astonishing, but it's not hideous either. Depending on your skin tone, you might find a color that works for you. It does have a velvety finish. It's probably my fault that I picked the palest one. I probably should have picked up one of the berry tones so that it would show up more. Random side note, I went to clean up some of the mess in front of me so that I can move on to the next step. And I have this LA Colors pressed powder in my hand, and I went to click it closed. It doesn't close. Let me bring this in closer. Here's the compact, and it has this extra piece of plastic right here that completely prevents this from closing no matter how hard I press this. Now, for those of you screaming at your device, what do you expect? It's from China. Call me silly, but I expected this to close. I'm a little bit concerned about the eyebrow situation because there really wasn't anything that I could fill my eyebrows in at a first glance. I did find a spoolie brush. This is by e.l.f. and I own a couple of these. These are really good for the price. This one's out of the packaging because this is one that I already owned, but it is also in store now. And typically I will just brush my brows up and then I will fill it in with either a pencil or a powder. So I'm going to see if I can use one of the powders that I picked up to fill in my eyebrows. So first I'm just going to brush them into place. Now I have a bit of an advantage. I get my eyebrows threaded and tinted because my eyebrows have mostly gray hair at this point. So at least I have some shape, but I always need to fill them in right in the centers from many years of over plucking. So I'm going to attempt to do that with powder eyeshadow. I also picked up one of these Wet n Wild angled liner brushes. I'm going to use this to do the front of my brows and a little bit of liner work a little bit later on. And because I have no other option, I think I'm going to try to use this powder in my brows. I know that this is too light for my hair color, but I typically make the hairs in the front of my brow a little bit lighter. I'm petrified to use a darker color in my brows because again, I'm going to work after this video and I am not going to have time to redo my makeup. So however it comes out, that's what I'm left with. So let's see what I can do with this for the brows. And I'm just taking this angled brush and just tapping in a little bit. This might not even show up, I can't tell. It's barely showing up, but I think it'll do. This has a little bit more of a red tone than I would typically use. And that's about as good as it's going to get. So we're going to move on to eyeshadow. Let me show you the eyeshadow that I picked up as well as the brushes. Now, eyeshadow in general is probably my favorite part of the makeup process. I enjoy doing it, and I feel like I found a pretty decent palette. We're going to find out in a moment, and I will of course swatch this as well. I also picked up several of these Wet n Wild brushes, and I own every one of these already. These are going to be my backups for travel. I already know that these are decent brushes, and I can't stress enough that for $1, these brushes are definitely worth the money. So I'm going to take this out of the packaging and then we'll proceed. Here is a closer look at the eyeshadow, and I want to point out that it is numbered as to where you use what colors. I have found through years of experience that this particular schematic does not work for my eye shape. The main reason I picked it up is it has a light enough base color for me, and I know that I can use one of these colors in the crease and one to deepen up the outer V. And here's a closer look at the 3 brushes that I picked up. One is for the crease, one is an eyeshadow brush, and one is a large eyeshadow brush. So when I saw this in the store through the packaging, it looked like it was mostly matte. I do notice that 3 of the 4 shades do have some shimmer. The darkest one is the matte, so I'm going to go back to the translucent powder to use in my crease because that doesn't have any shimmer. But I want to go ahead and swatch these. And I'm going to put it right here. And you can definitely see the shimmer in that. I don't object to that because that'll go on my lid. And then the shade that they call number 2. These do feel pretty silky. I'm going to swatch this one here. Pretty color, a lot of shimmer. I don't usually use this much shimmer, but we're going to go with it. And then the color that they're calling 3 has a little bit of a plum color to it. I thought that was a pretty color. And we're going to swatch that. In case you're wondering, I am washing off my finger in between each swatch. I'm going into the deepest shade, and this is the only one that looks to be a true matte, and I'm going to swatch that here. I have to say that I am really impressed with the color payoff of these. Now, I realize that swatching and using them on your eyes is 2 entirely different animals, so we'll get to that in just a moment. But if I didn't have the packaging in my hand and just saw these swatches, I would not think that this came from the Dollar Tree. The first thing I'm going to do is my crease, and I'm picking up the same compact that I can't close because this is the closest I'm going to get to any type of transition shade that doesn't have any shimmer. So I'm just going to tap into this. Knock the excess off. I'm going to go in and put this in the crease. And we're going to do the other side. I don't think that this is a bad transition shade. So now I'm going to take the lightest color in that and apply that to my lid. For this step, I'm going to use the smaller of the flat eyeshadow brushes. I know because I already own this that because this is synthetic fiber, it does have a tendency to pick up a shimmer shadow well and place it evenly. So I'm excited to see how it works with this eyeshadow. And I'm using this lightest color here on my lid. So I'm just going to pick that up. And right away I can see that in the inner corner of my eye. I'm going to build that up just a little bit. This is a surprising pretty color on. I'm actually curious to see how this eye look comes out. If my angles look a little bit odd, it's because I'm trying not to block the camera. Now I want to take one of the deeper shades and darken the outer V and also line the top of my eyelashes. So I think I'm going to go for the plum one, and I'm using this angled liner, and I'm dipping it in and just knocking off the excess. Now this is a random tip. It works for me. It may not work for you. In order to not have a downturned eye at my age and with my particular eye shape, I tend to pull the eyelid in ever so slightly, take this angled brush, and right where my lashes end, I'm going to put the darker color. So that is my starting point, and then I'm going to continue lining with this color. It probably makes some of you nervous to see me hold my eye like that. I want to tell you that I hold it very lightly. I don't hold it for long, but if I don't do that, I end up with a very jagged, it's not even a line, it just looks very bumpy, so I kind of have to do that. I have to say that my first impression of this eyeshadow palette, it feels silky going on, it applied well, the color payoff is really nice. I would not think this was a $1 eyeshadow palette. Now, regardless of what type of makeup I'm using, I typically do line with powder. I just find that it gives a softer look, but I wanted to try a traditional eyeliner, and I always tight line, so I'm going to use it for this. Wish me luck. I'm going to bring this in closer to show you the packaging. So this says that it is smudge proof and it is in the color navy. And here you can see the tip of this eyeliner. While we're in tight, I want to swatch this to see how waxy it is and what the color payoff is. The color is pretty. It is extremely stiff. I really can't see this working for tight lining, but I'm going to try it anyway. I can't imagine that this is doing anything. I have to say that in order to get any of this color on my skin, I'm having to push way harder than I typically would. I'm going to go ahead and do the other eye just so that my makeup looks even, but I can't recommend this for tight lining. And in fact, I should probably try it on my lower lashes because maybe it'll work better there. I'm sure that this is really hard to see, but I can see a tinge of navy. Just for the sake of testing it out, I am going to use it on my lower lashes as well. And I don't normally use liner on my lower lashes because I feel like it kind of drags the eye down, but I want to see how this will perform on the skin underneath the eye. So not hideous, but not great either. It's just way too stiff of a formula. But again, I'm going to do the other eye so that it looks even. I think that's about as good as it's going to get. Obviously, this eye look is going to look different once I put the mascara on. For the lips, I picked up 2 products because I would typically use 2. Actually, I would typically use 3. I would also use a lip liner. I did not find a lip liner that was going to work for me at Dollar Tree, so I'm going to do this without a lip liner. This is by LA Colors. It's a hydrating lipstick and it says that the color is Mauve Glaze. It says that it's creamy. I'm hoping that this isn't too sheer because I don't have much pigmentation in my lips and I really need a little bit of color. And then the lip gloss that I picked up is the LA Colors lip gloss, it just says, and it's in Fruit Punch. So I also want to see if it has a fruit punch smell to it. And we're ready for our lip product. I am going to come in and swatch this. I'm hoping that this isn't overly sheer. We're about to find out. Here's what the bullet looks like. Not gonna lie, this lipstick smells an awful lot like Play-Doh to me, but this is what we have to work with, so I'm going to swatch this. I think that is decent color payoff, and it is definitely a wearable color, so let's see it on. I do want to swatch the lip gloss and also see what that smells like. I'm curious if it actually smells like Fruit Punch or if that's just a cutesy name. This smells surprisingly good. This smells like a fruity bubble gum. I'm going to come in tight to swatch this as well, just so we can see how much color is involved with the gloss. Now that has a lot of color to it. I don't know why, but I thought this was going to be a clear gloss. That is really going to pink up this lipstick, but let's go for it. This lipstick definitely has some brick undertone to it, and I'll be curious to see how it's going to mix with the bubblegum pink lip gloss. We've come this far, let's keep going. I actually think that the two combined aren't as hideous as I thought they might be. It's definitely passable. I'm not going to wipe this off before I go to work. I'll be curious to see if people that see me every day make any mention of my makeup or my lipstick in particular. I usually wear more of a nude color. It'll be kind of hilarious actually if someone says, "Oh, your makeup looks great today." I totally don't think that's going to happen, but it would be hilarious if it did because every bit of it's from the Dollar Tree. So now I'm going to use a facial mist and I'll show you which one I picked up. Now I know that this is a little bit of a stretch and this is not advertised as a setting spray per se, but I'm so used to using a setting spray and I find that it kind of melds down the powder products and makes it look less powdery. So I picked up this facial mist. It says that it's watermelon and aloe. I'll be interested to see what it smells like actually. And it says that it's hydrating. So this is interesting. The mist that is coming out the front of the nozzle looks like a nice, fine, even mist. So I'm happy with that. But at the same time, this mechanism is definitely leaking. I have it turned on as tight as it can go. And I think the culprit is the fact that this bottle is so thin and so flimsy. Let me bring this in closer to show you. The bottle itself is so pliable that even holding this very loosely in my hand, I think it's pushing the liquid up. So I'm going to do my best to get some of this mist on my face. I will say, since this ran down my hand and partially down my arm, it does actually smell good, so there's that. Now at this point, I've pulled a tray directly out of the camera view with a towel on it because I can already tell this is going to go everywhere. Even if this facial mist does a good job with setting or refreshing, the bottle makes it really not practical. But I want to go ahead and get some on my face and see how this goes. So I'm just going to pull my bangs out of the way so I don't get too much of it in my hair. Okay. As refreshing as that was, I think I need to take another shower. When I did that, it was spraying in every direction. Droplets were on my arm. I feel it. My shirt's wet right now. I'm going to call this an epic fail. It was very refreshing and it smells good. The nozzle is horrendous and the bottle makes it not practical. Luckily, I had not done my hair. I'm probably going to have to dry it before I can continue. But let's keep going. Now I have very short, very straight eyelashes that pretty much point down. Using an eyelash curler is a must. So I'm quickly going to curl my lashes. And this particular mascara is called the Mega Wear. And this is what the wand looks like. It's a little bit on the thin side, but I think it has enough fluffiness that it will get between the lashes. So let's go ahead and apply this. Something else that I noticed right away, and it's a little bit surprising, and maybe it's because it's a thinner formula, there is zero clumping with this. The mascaras that I use on a day-to-day basis do have a tendency to clump, but they also coat the lashes substantially quicker, so I guess it's a little bit of a trade-off. I'm going to go ahead and apply a second coat, and I think that's about as good as it's going to get. So now that I have the makeup on, I'm going to step off camera, quick do something with this ridiculous hair of mine, and come back and give you my final thoughts. Let's recap the pieces that I used on my face, starting with foundation. I'm going to point out the obvious. The color selection at the Dollar Tree is woefully inadequate. With that said, I do have this BB cream on. It does feel comfortable and it doesn't feel drying, and I think it does have a nice finish. As far as the makeup brushes go, I have to say that I like every one of these. So much so that I already own some of these. I highly recommend these makeup brushes. For my highlight, I used a loose shimmer eyeshadow. I actually think this is pretty, and even as I look in the viewfinder, I can see just that little bit of shimmer. I actually prefer a subtle highlight. I'm sure that this is also a very pretty eyeshadow. I just wouldn't use the applicator that's inside, but any of the brushes that I just showed you would work beautifully with this. This blush does have a nice silky texture to it. I just think I picked the wrong color. The formula's decent. These are the applicators that came in both the blush and the bronzer. I really don't recommend using these, and they have some really good brushes there at the Dollar Tree, so I recommend using those instead. I have to say that I am impressed with this eyeshadow quad, and when I went to fix my hair and I looked in the mirror closer up, I got a pretty decent eye look out of this. The colors are wearable, I liked the formula, and they have a great color payoff. This eyeliner I really can't recommend. It is very, very stiff, very waxy. I have to say that I was impressed with both of these lip products. I like the color of the lipstick. I've had it on now for quite a while. It is very comfortable. It is definitely a wearable color. This is a color that typically I would never wear. It smells so good. It smells like fruity bubble gum, and it mixed with this lipstick beautifully. I think it made a nice color when it was combined. And my nemesis, the facial mist, felt very refreshing, but the overspray was crazy, and it leaked on top of that, so I can't recommend this. Now, if you want to take this and dump this into a different bottle with a different sprayer, you might make out okay, but for me, this is a hard pass. The mascara that I used in the blue tube is passable, but it's nothing special. If it were an extreme emergency, if I were out of town and I forgot to pack a mascara and I didn't want to buy a full-priced one, I might pick this up just to get by, but as far as an everyday mascara, it doesn't do very much, and I knew from a previous test that the one in the black tube is also not really worth recommending. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I wanted to give you a couple of hacks for cleaning your makeup brushes from the Dollar Tree. One I have used for years, and I've done it with both Dove soap and with Yardley soap from the Dollar Tree. But all you do is wet the soap, wet the brush, twirl it around, run it under water. I towel dry my brushes and then lay them flat to dry. I want to show you another option. If you have a brush that is stubbornly stained, these types of tools really come in handy because they have little grooves that get in between the bristles of a makeup brush, and you can use these with baby shampoo. I want to show you something that I found at the Dollar Tree that works just as effectively and costs $1. I want to show you this in the package first, and then I'll show it to you in use. See how these soap dishes have these little prongs? This is what is going to get in between the bristles of a makeup brush that is stubbornly stained. And I took all of the brushes that I cleaned and just laid them on a paper towel to dry. Well, I'm off to work with my Dollar Tree makeup look. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day to spend with me. I truly appreciate it. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and also consider hitting that subscribe and notification bell. That way you'll see my future videos. Until next time, bye guys.